radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? How you doing? It's Fade to Black. Today is Thursday, May 8th, 2025. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What's cracking, everybody? Let's do this. Man, yeah. Excited. This week on Fade to Black. Well, Monday we were off air because I was hanging out with Chris Bledsoe. Tuesday night we were off air because I had oral surgery. I did. And last night, Bernie Beitman was with us talking about synchronicity, an amazing conversation last night. Tonight, Chris Bledsoe is here. Buckle up, kiddies. Buckle up. We're going to be talking about his book, UFO of God, and a lot of other things. Tomorrow night, Haley Ramsey is with us, and we are extending our Fade to Black week this week by one night. Normally, I say this is my Friday. It's your Thursday, and I get the last laugh, right? Or you do. One of us does. And but not tonight. No, tomorrow I have to work. So Haley Ramsey is going to be with us, and we will be talking about ancient Egypt's influence on the UK, right? And the rest of the world. And that is tomorrow night. And I know a little bit about what is going to be revealed. And I just cannot wait. It's going to be an excellent conversation tomorrow night with Haley. And there you go. Now, I do have 3 major events coming up. Shortly, I'll be heading out to Contact in the Desert. That is May 29th through June 2nd in Palm Springs, California. And there you go. Chris Bledsoe is going to be there, by the way. And then I head to Peru with Brian Forster for the Inca Celebration of the Sun. That is June 17th through the 27th. And then we have another tour in November. Links for that are below. And then I come back to the States for the Psy Games. And that is August 1st through the 3rd, 2025 in Charlottesville, Virginia. Yeah. What was that movie called? Oh, I got it. John Carter on Mars. Remember that? Virginia. Yeah, the Psychic Olympics. I'm a game show host for the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. August 1st through the 3rd, 2025, Charlottesville, Virginia, and Virginia. All of the links are below for everything that I will be doing in 2025. There you go. All right. Now, tonight, Chris Bledsoe is with us. And I've called the show UFO of God, which will allow us to, which I always try to do, go in any direction that we want to. So we're going to be talking about his best-selling book. And I also want to tap into the latest developments in our disclosure world. Chris, of course, is an experiencer. He's a strong believer in God. That's because of where he lives. That's my belief. His life and his children, I just spent the weekend with his entire family, and it was pretty cool hanging out with the Bledsoes. An absolute amazing family. And as a parent, I just have to say he's done it right. All right. Now, he's very passionate about keeping an open mind. And with all of the events that we did this weekend, I think him and I did probably 3 or 4 standing room only events at the Contact Modalities Expo. And watching the reception from our community to Chris was very, very cool. but it's all about having an open mind and that consciousness connection with UFOs and how it impacts his faith. I'm not necessarily religious. I'm completely spiritual. I'm always trying to figure out what's going on. Right after we selected a new pope today, Pope Bob. We got Bobby. We got Bobby today. And last night after the show, knowing this pope thing was going on, I watched the movie Conclave, and I resisted watching it. And the timing of that movie coming out and what the world just witnessed with the Conclave, very strange. And that's called the universe, man. It's weird, isn't it? So I'm going to try to get some of the answers to the questions that I have. But Chris is doing the exact same thing, along with his wife, Yvonne, and his family. They are on a journey. His website is UFOofGod.com. The links for that are below. You can check out the book if you haven't already got it. And with that, I'm just going to say, welcome, Mr. Chris Bledsoe.
Well, thank you for having me, Jim.
Jim, you know what? Chris, you know who calls me Jim? My mom, when I'm in a really bad situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that for now and then.
Yeah, I bet you are. Don't tell Yvonne. Don't tell Yvonne. You know what's funny? I'm going to say this. By the way, your family. I called Chris. When did I call you, Chris? Well, it doesn't matter. I talked to Chris today, and it was just like one of the first things I said to Chris. Chris, man, your family. Wow. But here's the thing. You know what I was afraid of all weekend with Yvonne? I was going to get grounded. Like, Yvonne, okay, that's it, Jimmy. Enough. Go to your room, and she's the best, man.
Yeah,
Your family. You seriously, I'm a dad, you're a dad, but you must be proud. You did it right.
I am proud. And Yvonne loves you, by the way, and she don't like everybody. I can tell you, she's one of those moms that's always quiet and watching, but it's all I heard about is Jimmy. She loves Jimmy, and so does all the kids. We had the best time, and it was this UFO thing that brought us all together. We were ostracized, but we hung in there, and I just have to say they look after me. It's hard when I've got 30-year-old kids that are telling me what to do all the time. Go sit.
Right.
Go stand. You need this. You need that. Don't go that way. Go get a nap. I'm going to. It's always like that.
Right. Well, I've known you for a while now, and I feel like I've watched your kids grow up, and especially with Ryan, so smart. And all of them have a foundation with education and their pursuit of knowledge. Extremely, extremely bright. Now, I'm not going to sit here and dwell and gush out on your family all night, but I know them well. And Ryan is how do I say this right? He's very smart and he's a pillar of knowledge, but he wants to kick it up a notch, doesn't he? He is really thirsty for getting his learn on.
And he will. He's wide open. He's in the Monroe Institute today. I mean, he was just in Wisconsin. He came from the Monroe, went to Wisconsin. Now he's back at the Monroe. So he's burning up the road. But he's a smart boy. And his mom and I knew it when he was little tiny. When he's 2, 3 years old, he could see a movie and remember every detail.
I believe it.
He still does everything. He just loves to research and gobble up books, and so I'm proud of him.
You can tell. I was watching him ask questions from different researchers there, and that was really cool. He's just, and he reminds me of, and of where I was at about that age, where everything is just new and fresh, and you just want to keep soaking it up. And that's exactly where he's at on his journey right now. 20 years from now, he's going to be something to be dealt with.
Yeah, I think you're right, and he follows you very closely. He he uses you and your show as like a roadmap for him. So that's a big thing, and I mean, he thinks a lot of you. And I appreciate all the help you give him and all that. So
yeah, it was great. And so I'm just going to tell everybody, we actually, and this is without exaggeration, the Bledsoes and myself and a couple of friends of mine, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner together for 4 days.
Yeah.
And we didn't get in a fight. Normally a family will get in a fight. We managed to not get that done. But one of the we had this extraordinary experience, Chris. You were part of it. You were there. We were at dinner, and we all walked outside, and I'm standing there with Ryan and Emily and Jennifer, and we look up, and there's a bald eagle, man, just right there looking at us.
Yeah.
Like it was, and that again, it's just, I don't know. What do you make of that at that moment? I don't know, but it sure was cool. And we got to enjoy. It's like, how do you cap off a perfect weekend? Well, how about whipping out a bald eagle, right?
Yeah. Landed right above you, right in the tree.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So much fun. All right. This is what I want to do. I'm going to start off here. And I'm so happy that you and I are friends enough that I can ask a question like this and you're going to answer honestly. The UAP defense, UAPDF, I should say. The members of the UAPDF, half of them are friends of ours that we have relationships with. And yesterday, Lou Elizondo and Gary Nolan both resigned. And there's a lot going on right now on social media about this. What do you think about that? And it comes right after the briefing that they had last week on May 1st. What's going on? What do you think?
Well, I can see why Lou might have resigned because of that photo problem but why Gary resigned, I don't know. I still have a lot of friends, on that board and working with several of those folks there, right regular. So, but I don't know why Gary resigned. That was a new one. But Lou, I think Lou's tired. He's fought a battle a long time, and it's a battle. It really is. And but I don't know, Jen.
Yeah, it's the Gary Nolan part and Matthew Ford, who was their strategic partner in that, strategist, I think they called him. He wasn't on the board, but Lou and Gary both were. They were on the board there, and I think you're right with Lou and that photograph that he showed Congress in that briefing, where you look at the board, and again, I'm just speculating. This is optics from my side, but those are very, very serious academics and professionals on that board.
And
And they think, and they think in a black and white way. That's just it. And they're in a funding environment. And academics know what that's like. And I just said optics. When you have to have a very solid footing and you can't waver and you can't BS. And that photograph is not the optics that a funding environment with something like that needs. And I'm sure that was most of it.
Yeah, very well could be. The group that's there, very serious folks, and I'm honored to be working with some of the women there that are on that board, these academics, and working pretty much weekly with them. In fact, I was tonight with some of those folks, and I tell you, there's a crowd of women there that are very serious about the spiritual side of this thing.
What's the difference? Okay, Chris, can we stay right there?
Yeah.
Can you and I offend exactly half of the world right now? You have men and women, right? So
Right.
let's just offend all the men out there. What is it? What is it about the feminine side of looking at the UFO and ET phenomenon that impresses you so much? What's the difference between men and women when it comes to the subject, when it seems that it's a male dominated community? And I've never said that. Other people say that, but what is it about women that impresses you when it comes to ufology?
Well, from not hanging around UFO places, I've never done a whole lot of that, and this contact will be my first time I've ever speaking there. Last year, I snuck in there and tried to hide myself and ended up on a panel, right? But from 18 years of this and meeting, literally thousands of people, predominantly the women are the ones that that come to me mostly with having experiences, wanting to know what happened to them. In other words, 80-year-old Miss Joan sees an orb fly by her kitchen window or down the hall in her house, and she gets disturbed. Word gets around. She calls me. I hear tell. This is where these Southern women. I hear tell. You're the one and to know about these kinds of things. This ball of light come by, and I always
Right.
start. Miss Joan talked to me about what was life like when that happened, and my husband died. That's what she told me. So it's always that, and it seems like the women are the ones coming out of the woodwork, and the women's are the one that are more spiritual in nature than men, and they get it easier, right? They get the spiritual side of it. That's just from my understanding.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Right.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Um, the uh, for my observing, and I've always been this way with the show, where I will have guests on that interest me. That's it, right?
Right.
And so you can go through and look at, if you want to take the time and look at, a couple of thousand shows, and go and look at the demographics of who's been on the show. And I'll say it's probably 50-50, but I know, I'm talking about male, female guests,
Right.
but I've gone through a month of nothing but female guests.
Right.
And it's just because it's the way that it's happening. It's not intentional. It's just who I find compelling and interesting as a researcher or an experiencer, or whatever the subject may be. It could be science.
One thing to
So,
look
yeah,
at.
go ahead. Oh, you skipped. Stay with me, Chris.
At my table for 3 days, right? Just solid line of people. And all of them, not all of them, but a good lot of them, most of them were women, if you noticed. Women. They resonate with this book. And,
No, they resonate. They resonate with you, man. They resonate with you. They resonate with you. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I used to get tired of hearing people say that this is a man's world, ufology, and we need more women involved. I don't see that from where I am. I just don't. I don't. I'm okay with where we are at. And I do like your point there that women, in a general sense, are more spiritually connected and have an open mind to that side. Where men, we like V8 engines and gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do, and I will say, coming out of Washington, I have a lot of friends in D.C. a lot, and I'll say this again here on your show, which I did in Wisconsin. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, Chris is being handled by the government," right? Well, wrong, not true. I'm just fortunate enough that I know a lot of people there and I get to study with them. I've never signed a thing and they don't tell me anything to do. They're all nice people and have been very accommodating. So that's my connection to, and I'm connected all the way to the senators and the congressmen that you see on television. These people, they're all nice people. But there's a force of women that are growing within that group, like Luna. You know, she's a little superstar. Well, there's some women around her you don't see behind the scenes that are very powerful and very supportive. And I have had the well, let's just say they've been to my house, these people, and seen things and shared it with Congress, even videos, high definition videos. So they're very aware of what's happening, and I'm just excited about the way it looks like it's moving. And I don't know why, where it's going, but there's a lot of women coming into the disclosure scene in Washington. Let's just say.
Do you think that okay, let's put the male female side of this to the side. The interest that has been shown both to you and your property, by the way, by three-letter agencies and scientists,
Right.
they are looking at the phenomena that is going on there, and with you and around you,
Right.
for very specific reasons. Do you believe, Chris, that it is because of other experiences and data that they have already collected in the past, and they are seeing it repeated with you and your property?
Well, they have firsthand the ability to study it. For example, tonight I was on the phone with 5 women at once, all scientists, PhDs, by the way, all of them. And we were working together, and while we were talking, and we had to get our heads in one accord. Actually, we said a little prayer together.
Really?
And yes, and when that happened, I mean, this is how serious these people know what's going on. When it happened, this orb appeared in the trees next to me, 15 feet off the ground and about big as a baseball, and was glowing red and blue, shifting red and blue. And I filmed it 3 times when it appeared, and it very close with very good clarity. So I'll send you a copy of that. But
I would
this
love
is
to see it.
some of the stuff we're doing.
Um, okay, but you didn't answer the question. And Chris, I will bust your balls, man. I will bust your ball. Okay, but you didn't. Is it because they are familiar with what is happening with you because of what they already know?
Well, I would be speculating, but I'm sure they know more than they let on to know.
For
But,
sure.
but when they're here, they're all ears without any knowing, right? They never tell you what they know. So, and I don't try to drag that out of them, but they're like kids in candy stores here when they get to see this kind of stuff and experience it. And It's just we're going to do a whole lot more of that too. A whole lot more research into this, conducting experiments and stuff.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah, I
See,
think.
I gotta pull it out of you, man. I gotta pull it out of you.
Yeah, you've
So the
been.
answer is yes. The answer is yes. They've been collecting data for a long time. They know what's going on, and they see what's happening there, and and they have they have a chance to verify not only their previous data and their contact, but to also, that's the scientific method, right? To
Right.
observe, measure, and repeat, and they can do that with you.
Right. They get to, yeah. We're going to do a lot more of that too this year, and several times we're going to do some experimenting, researching, and so on. But
Okay, Chris, can I ask you a question?
yes, sir.
Who started the prayer today, you or them?
Them.
Really?
Yeah. Very, very. These people, these women are spiritual. I'm telling you, they don't mind praying a bit. And it's running around the rumors running around Washington right now. And I heard Gary Nolan say it. They're trying to start talking now. They're believing this thing may be totally about angels and demons. I don't know if you've heard that.
I have. You and I have talked about that. Yeah.
Week that coming out of. So they don't know, Jimmy. The government people I study with, and it goes way up. They all come to me not telling me they know anything, more like we don't know anything. There's a door there that is cracked open and you're able to see what's coming out of it, but what's behind it, we have no clue, right? So we're just seeing just the edge of what's back there. And there's no telling what's on the other side. I imagine there's some of everything.
Now, I saw a comment in social media with somewhere. Maybe somebody sent it to me. And the comment was, it was a picture of you and I together. Oh, somebody sent it to me. I didn't see it. Okay. I have to be completely honest here. Plus, I'm talking to Chris Bledsoe. I can't lie. I can't do it. I'll get grounded. I'll get caught. Somebody sent me this comment that, I'm hanging out with Bledsoe, so now you converted me, and now I believe in the baby Jesus. Right. And are you okay with that kind of perception that the community has? I mean, the book is called UFO of God. I get that. But are you okay with the way the public looks at you, that you're the Jesus ET guy?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. That don't mean that's what, I can't control what people's perceptions are, but you can, that's not exactly what I'm saying though, right? If they read the book, he probably wouldn't say that. The book doesn't at all say that. The book's basically, somebody in the CIA told me that my book and the cover was absolutely brilliant. He said you couldn't have done better than that. And it gets a lot of people's attention, and it sells in the Christian world bigger than the UFO world by and far. It's been number one in angels and spirits and the Christian faith for the last 2 years. And so, yeah, I'm glad they do that. And the more controversy, the better. It just sells more books. So,
I'm going to share for those that weren't at the conference this weekend, and there's going to be a lot of people watching and that are watching now. But Chris and I did a Q&A a few times over the weekend. Man, so we did the Between Two Ferns, right? We did the panel. We did the meditation. That's 3. It seems like we did 4.
We did,
was there 4?
Did the grand finale there with everybody.
Yeah, we did that too as well. And so we did a lot of Q&A and had a lot of fun with it. But one of the things that we talked about, and I want to go back, and you just brought it up. So I'm speaking to the audience now in the interest of transparency. Chris had finished the book, and we talked on the phone, and he sent me, the book isn't released yet, and he wanted my opinion on the cover. So he emails me the cover. And actually, I remember what it was about, Chris. We were talking about doing a show for the release of the book.
Right.
Remember that? And we worked on that for like 3 or 4 months, right? It was a long time. But finally, we're ready to do that. And the book is, we got a release date. But anyway, so Chris sends me the cover to the book. And he goes, he's talking to me, okay, man, you got it? I got it. Okay, what do you think? And I'm looking at it. And what did I say? I said, it's pretty strong. You remember that? You remember that? And I go, and you go, so what do you think? And I said, well, it's cool. I dig the Da Vinci and all of that. But I go, dude, UFO of God. Remember that? And you go, yeah, man. I said, okay, it's strong. Are you ready for this? And you said, look, man, it's what's going on. Do you think it wasn't strong enough now that the reaction's been pretty good?
No, I think that that it was inspired from above. The whole thing, all the words in it, from the cover. I let the phenomenon and the lady guide me, and I trust me. When I go out at night, I'll take everything that I have a decision to the stars, and I ask, and if it responds to me, I take that as a yes. If it don't, then I don't. I take that as a no. So the whole cover, even my next book is in the works. The name and all for it, the heavens told me what I needed there, and so when I release that, it's going to be all inspired like this first one here.
Let me pull up, Chris. I am going to pull up the cover of the book so everybody can actually see the image. There's the cover. UFO of God. Oh, that's the Spanish cover.
Right, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. That's the Spanish cover. Well, man, that doesn't have the impact, does it? Okay, let me try this one more time, folks. That just goes to show you I don't know what I am doing. I should know what I am doing.
There's an Italian version, and hopefully...
Oh, is that what that is? Was that Italian?
An Italian version too, but hopefully there's a Portuguese and a Hebrew version coming soon.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Already have the translations on the German, but the other two is coming.
Okay, let me get rid of this. See, normally with stuff like this, it's already done before the show starts, and right now, okay, there we go. There's the cover of the book, and that's what I saw, everybody, and I was like, okay, all right, it is heavy, but you know what I dig about it? Look at the crystal ball.
Yep.
Is it just me, or are there 3 orbs in there?
Yeah, and 2, I want to say something about that, Jimmy. Since you're talking about that, I'm going to give the whole audience a little secret. It's not a crystal ball, and Da Vinci would have known that. When a crystal ball, and everything in the back would be reversed, upside down. So it can't be a crystal ball. It has to be a translucent orb.
Oh.
Right. The 3 dots in that ball could represent one of 2 things. And I'm going to...
Is that right? So it would be would it be reversed?
It would be if it was a crystal ball. You'd see everything in the background reversed, and Da Vinci would have known that. And
keep talking. Finish that thought. I've got a crystal ball right over here.
I'm going to give you
keep going.
A secret. These 3 dots in there, And if anybody follows me on Instagram and has for all these years, know that I rave about three. The beings had a triangle on the shirt. They come in threes, always in threes. I film them in threes. Three orbs we filmed somebody at the Skywatch in Wisconsin, filmed 3 orbs with wings that flew over this weekend at the Skywatch, which I slipped out to.
Right.
But in the book, I write about the lady gave me this little message where she said that the star of Regulus would align in the gaze of the Sphinx right on the horizon, and when that happened, there would be this change in knowledge. Right? She told me that, and so I put that out there, and it's in the book, and it's next year is when that alignment's supposed to happen. And Robert Edward Grant, which will be at Contact, can't wait to see him. He's worked on this puzzle about the Sphinx and the pyramids and the Hall of Records and this ruby, which we come to terms to know that ruby is the Star of Regulus, right? So over the Last Supper painting that Da Vinci did with Jesus, written over top of him, Robert was able to find hidden up there this word Regulus written above him, which means the little king. So one of those dots in that ball represents the star of Regulus. One represents Venus and one Jupiter, but the other represents Regulus.
Wow, fascinating. And yes, it is backwards, by the way. I'm looking at Chris backwards. I'm looking at Chris backwards.
Yeah.
True. Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of hidden stuff I put in there. And I'll reveal more of this in my second book about this kind of thing. But there's some interesting things happening around Egypt, and I don't know what all, but we need to keep our eyes on that, whatever comes out of it, but over the next couple of years.
Somebody just posted they over the weekend that they didn't go to the Skywatch because it was canceled, and it was. Because we canceled. And so the second night we're having a party for Paola Harris, and Chris retired for the night to his room, and then people went up and started pounding on his door. Yeah. And friggin' Chris, being the gentleman that he is, walked down into that crowd that was they decided to do their own Skywatch, and there turned out to be like 50, 75, 100 people down there on the shoreline. And man, you're a trooper, man.
Yeah, it was about 10:30 when I got out there, and it was between 80 and 100 people, and it wasn't long, and we had them all cheering. And
yeah. It just, I don't know. Chris and I are about the same age. Yeah. And Chris and I worked. Chris and I and Yvonne, we were the first people that we saw in the morning and the last people we saw at night. You and I know how hard, we were on our feet for 12, 14 hours, man.
Yeah, we sure
and
were.
I cannot believe you went out for that Skywatch.
Just people come so far, and they're fans, and I couldn't let them down, so I snuck out there, and we had, and I told Melissa, I said, Melissa, count me in for next year. So we're all coming back. Everybody.
Yeah, we're all coming back. That resort, I want to get back to UFOs. But that resort and that conference was perfect.
Yep.
It was perfect. Melissa Kane and her crew, everybody around her, Dan and Chris and the audio and the volunteers and her family. Her family might be cooler than yours, Chris. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, they were beautiful people.
Beautiful. What a conference. I mean, it was just, I was so happy. She came up to me. She goes, okay, Jimmy, you can make the announcement. I said, what announcement? We're coming back next year. You're going to be here with Chris. Get up on that stage and get on that microphone, little mister. and make that announcement. I couldn't wait. I'm just so happy about that. It was a great conference.
Yeah,
It
me
was a great
too.
conference.
I'm gonna promote it for her. And I have to say this is the first one I've been to in the Midwest. You know, most of them are East Coast or West, but
Right.
I tell you, I could hardly get home from all the cheese and the chocolates and the goodies these beautiful people brought us. I mean, it was like incredible. I had a whole grocery bag of stuff, and
Yeah, me too. I'm still eating the snacks. Yeah. Chris texted me. Chris texted me the next day and he goes, I should read the text, Chris. People aren't going to believe it. Chris texted me, he goes, man, this cheese is amazing.
I love it.
Oh man, took the cheese home.
Balsamic vinegar cheese. I've never had balsamic vinegar cheese, but it's like the best stuff ever.
Yeah. Wisconsin's got cheese figured out, and the restaurants there, right? And the night, the lounge, and man, it was just a beautiful, beautiful resort. I mean that's a world class resort.
Yeah,
right there, man.
I just love the people. I mean, it's crazy. I'm in North Carolina, right? And this guy come and he said, I came from South Dakota. I'm like, wow, how long a drive was that? And he's like 6 hours. And I thought, dang, I'm a lot further away from home than I thought.
Yeah.
I'm a long ways, right? So trying to figure out where we were in relation to people coming from Nebraska and Oklahoma and Michigan and Wisconsin. It was fun.
Yeah, man. We were in Wisconsin. We were like 10 miles from Santa's Village.
Oh,
That's
right.
yeah, that's where we were. Now we've got hearings happening on this week. And Representative Eric Burleson just announced, and I'm going to quote him. I don't know if you saw this quote. He said next week, Chris, quote, next week is UFO week.
Yep.
UAP week. That's a pretty heavy statement coming from an elected official, isn't it? Do you expect that next week? Do you expect next week to be UAP week?
Yeah, I do, and I'm behind the scenes, involved in that, and luckily, I have to say that some of my stuff will be floating around in that whole thing. The witnesses that have been here, a lot of them, 6 and 8 at the time, scientists, PhDs. So a lot of they're looking not at just military now; they're looking at the civilian, me and others like us that experiences that have this experience. So they're taking a look at everything, and it's exciting. I think they're gonna move the ball down the court a lot in the next few months.
With Chris's, I've never asked you this before. With Chris's contact experience, with that being and how that was described, including the little furry dude that was living in your outhouse or the chicken coop. What was it? Chicken coop? Was it chicken coop?
Dog kennel.
Yeah, dog kennel. With Chris's encounter, was that religious, or was that something altogether different?
No, and it wasn't a religious encounter for me. Got to remember the reason I wrote this book, UFO of God. I grew up in the church, right? And I had suffered I hit the bottom, and I had gotten away from the church, busy building houses, 130 a year, and raising 4 kids, and I just quit going like I'd been, and got real sick. Long story short, I'm ready to die. I'm at that stage. God, I don't like what I'm thinking. I don't want this. I love my kids more than anything. Help me. And this is where I was. And then these balls of fire come out of the sky, UFOs, right? And so I'm crying out to God, and here comes UFOs. And that's how come the book cover got there. Well, it never left. And I still document it. And I've been documenting it over 18, going on 19 years now. And in front of everybody, in front of the highest authorities in the government, they see it. And it comes when I ask a little prayer. The same way it came 19 years ago, it comes today. So that's why the cover is called UFO of God. But what it all means, I don't know yet, Jimmy. I don't know. I'll be the first
Well,
to.
I understand, Chris. I totally get it.
Right?
You prayed and you got UFOs, right?
Yeah.
You prayed, you got UFOs.
Yeah.
And now you got to make sense out of that. But
Right.
going back to Chris's experience in the bushes, right? Is that connected in the same way?
It's all connected in in the course of his learning. He had to learn to get through the fear. But what really got him wasn't the fact that he saw this and it scared him. I could have alone probably made him feel a lot better about that right quick. But the problem was the people from the community and the church came in and started saying, your dad's playing with the devil. And it got so bad from every angle that he ran away. He didn't want to hear this anymore. And it instilled fear. So he ran for 5-6 years. And when he came home, he and I started spending time together outside every night, and he'd see how it responded to me, and he lost all that fear. And now he can have it appear in front of him just like I do, and he sees it the way I see it. And that don't mean it's about um, uh, a religion of any kind. It's more about a personal connection to something much greater that hears us and that will answer you and will heal people and bless you. And I've seen that happen. In fact, they're trying to do all the miracle investigations right now on me within the Catholic Church because there's a lot of them. People were writing me and healings and stuff. So it's it's all happening.
Okay, look at the screen. You ready?
Yeah, I love that. Wow, what is that?
That's the cover of the book. See?
Yeah.
Doing the cover of the book. With this, the way that some inside of Washington, D.C. Are looking at this angel and demons thing, is it that are angel and demons, or are we calling them that because those are the words that we have used for a couple of thousand years? Are we using the wrong words today to describe it?
No, I think the words tell you points to what the old timers were saying. But what that definition of that is needs to be explored, right? But the word, if I said alien, well, you think of something in a machine coming with teeth and ray guns. But when you say angel, you think of something spiritual. So the whole thing reacts in a spiritual way. It hears your thoughts. It knows what you think. And the worst enemy, if you ever want to see this phenomenon, to all the listeners out there, I'll tell you there's a key to it. I can teach you. I can't teach everybody. There are three kinds of people. There are three. There's one that can see. There's one that can see if I show them. And then there's that one that can't never see. As hard as you try to show them, their brain gets in the way and they're skeptical. So those people, you can't help them. But skepticism is what kills your ability to see it because they're aware of your thoughts. They're aware of your fear. They're aware of your apprehension. If you ask, seek, and you'll receive. Knock and the door will be open. If you want to see it, you'll see it. If you're skeptical and everything that flies over, oh, that was a satellite, that was a plane, you're never going to see it. You got to get that out of your brain. and let your head and your heart connect. In other words, if you tell Jimmy tells his daughter he loves her, he does. When he says that, he feels it when he says it. Well, when you're asking the phenomenon to come, you got to say what you mean or mean what you say, and connect that together. What that makes you want to cry. That's where I get that part there, and that's they react to emotion. We know this from science. Studying my brain, studying my son's brain right now at the Monroe. They studied my daughter's brain. You can get to see this here June the 3rd, I think. History Channel's new Beyond Skinwalkers series is coming back out this year in June, and you can see some of that brain study we're doing at the Monroe. So, but they know it's emotion based. So that emotion, that feeling, it's all connected. And but
Kim just said in the chat room, Matthew McConaughey could play you in the movie.
yeah, I've heard that from some.
Now I can't. That's never going to leave. That is never going to leave. I'm going to reach out to him. We need to make that happen.
Do it.
Now, okay, so I understand the angels part. What about the demons part? Some of these ET demons?
Well, I think that the demons are non-physical, being just like the church has people that exercise you, that they're not coming in light. They don't come in the physical form. They come in your thoughts and in your they can inhabit you. And very powerful ones too can poke their head into our reality. Some of them, but for the most part, they're non-physical, parasitic.
So let's talk about the angels for a second. And no, I'm going to ask you a question,
Right.
and then I want you to answer with all right.
All right.
Okay. Okay. I want to ask you about angels.
Okay. All right. I had a direct.
I'm gonna get blasted by lightning right now. I just had to do it, man. I had to do it, and feel free to do that anytime you want tonight. If they're not, so they don't have a diet. I'm not being cavalier. We're talking about energy and spirit, you know what I mean? Energy beings.
Right.
I mean, I doubt the lady is physical and is going to eat pizza or something.
Well, she comes in as a spirit, and just like these beings out of these orbs, they're like spirits. They come out of that light into a glowing humanoid figure. It looks like us. The woman does, the lady. The little ones look like a glowing ball or glowing humanoid figure. But the demonic entities would be in your thoughts. They would be whispering in your ear, make you go crazy and do things you ought not to do. And they've known that forever. People tend to think the guys that wrote the Bible and these books are dumb, right? Oh, they didn't get it right. Well, they built the pyramids, and let's figure that one out. They built stuff like in Peru, and these stone walls and these complex things. They had to be smarter than we think they are. But I'm not saying everything in that book's right. And as far as a religion and a control system, that's not me anymore. I think we all have that connection, and we can all learn how to use it. All of us.
I want to ask you this too as well. And again, I'm trying not to offend anybody, and certainly not you, Chris. But is God just a word?
I think God is everything.
No. Is it just everything is everything? I get that. I'm saying, is God just a word applied to a phenomenon? If there is something that is infinite, you and I talked about that this weekend, right? Infinite's a big friggin' number, man. So infinitely old, infinitely wise, infinitely full of knowledge. the ability to create. There's Earth, another galaxy, right? Okay, right. Well, we call that God, but it's just something that is really old and really smart and has a little talent too. And we call that God. That's what I'm saying. Is God just a word?
Yeah, it's a program. It's basically a program. Somebody wrote it. Somebody
Right.
created it. It's an operating system we live within. And when God comes to visit us, he can come in any form, or she. This is who I think maybe the lady may be a representation of that divine source, or
Mhm.
and you know, and it appears to every race around the world in their own way, to the Native Americans and to the Japanese. So it's not one religion. It's not about religion. This is what I've been saying all along. It's about everybody, and God is a three-letter word. So the Muslims can't make God uh, theirs, nor can the Jewish people, nor can the Baptists. God is everybody's, and we got to get out of the nonsense of this fighting each other. But to believe there's no such thing as God, I can't fathom that. But
Right. And that's where I think that's where I am. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You live in the Bible Belt, man. You trip over religion in on a sidewalk,
right.
right? Right. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I was baptized Catholic, and I keep saying this, but Chris and I talked a lot this weekend. And one of the things I told Chris about this, one of the things that messed me up, I mean, I was 20 years old, Chris. Somebody gave me this conspiracy book on the Vatican, right? And maybe it was a Baptist that gave me the book. I don't know. And so I get the book. And it said in there that the Catholics took the 10 commandments, took one commandment out, took another commandment, split it in half, made 10 more commandments, and threw one out. And I went, that's bullshit. There's no way that happened.
They
So
did.
I get, yeah. So I get my Bible and I look and I was like, oh. Now I'm just saying, man, Pope Bob is just going to be upset with this. But I went, I'm not good with that. And that's when I kind of backed up and went, I don't know if I'm religious, but something miraculous happened with the creation of the universe. But I don't think it's religious, that religion that came into play there. I think it's something else, something massively intelligent and massively old
Yeah.
that we call God.
Yeah, it's a system. We live in a huge system that has rules and parameters, and living life within it that are here to affect us, positive or negative, either way. And whether we like it or not, it's there. And we can choose to take the path we want. That's kind of the way I see it. And I think that we don't need anybody to pray us into heaven. We don't need anybody to get us there. We all have the ability to talk straight to God. That's what Jesus was saying when they killed him. Um, he said the kingdom of heaven is within us, right? One thing that is pretty amazing to read or watch or study is sacred geometry. And one of the pioneers in that was Dr. Robert Gilbert, and he just recently passed. You can study his material called the Vesica Institute. And he was a very smart guy, PhD into Egyptology. And one thing he told me and he's a Rosicrucian, right? Knights Templar, all this. He's very high up into this stuff. And he told me, he said, Chris, in Egypt, everything there, all over everything, it talks about the neter. The neter, he kept saying, which means nature. in English. And he said you'd always see it, these beings everywhere with little feathers on their head. But it all talks about forces of nature, how the spirit world interacts with humanity through that bald eagle that we saw the other night, or through that hawk. Ra was a hawk or a falcon, and or a crocodile. For the underworld was a jackal, but forces of nature. So add that into the mix of religion and all that, and it all becomes hard to understand. It's a new horizon in front of us, I'm telling you.
Well, that's we're going to take a break, but when we come back, Chris, I want to pick up with your nature comment. I want this to continue.
Okay.
I find that really interesting. Our guest tonight, the one and only Chris Bledsoe. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We will be right back. More with Chris after this short break. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Today we're headed to Bolivia, Tiwanaku, Peru, and of course, Pumapunku. Brian, exciting. Thank you so much for everything, my friend.
Always an honor. Right behind us is the sacred river of the Inca that goes past Machu Picchu. So we're going to be driving up to its source at 15,000 feet above sea level and then down to Lake Titicaca.
So today we hit 15,000 feet.
Yes.
Crazy. And you can do it with us. All you have to do is go to hiddenincatours.com. Simple. We've got 2 tours coming up next year, one in June for the summer solstice, right? And then another one right here in November. So hiddenincatours.com. Come and hang out with Brian and I and his amazing team.
Right on.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Chris Bledsoe is with us. And Chris, nature is an interesting point because the universe is full of life. That's nature.
Right.
It's everywhere. And we have a right as earthlings to know about nature. That's it. Why is there such pushback with this subject? Why do they want to keep nature from us? Isn't that just a fundamental right?
Ask yourself why they make it illegal to interact with dolphins.
They do? No, they
Yeah.
don't. Now you're making stuff up, Chris.
No, I'm not. Why is it? Why do you have to be regulated to work with bees?
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about nature that they restrict us in. Stuff like that. It makes you wonder, right? But one thing Robert was teaching me, Dr. Gilbert, was that examples. For example, in the book in the Bible, there's a story about Ezekiel, the will within the will. I think a lot of people's heard that, whether they're religious or not. The will within the will. Ezekiel talks about these opening or these angels that, or this wheel that's revolving, and they try to say, well, there's eyes all around it, and they depicted that. Well, that's not what that means. In Hebrew, that word eye actually means knowledge. So these things have all the knowledge. It can read your thoughts, right? So they land in front of him, and it says, and he walked between them. And what come out as what was his description of the angelic being he saw was only one part human. It had a face of an eagle and a lion and a cow or an ox and a person. And one thing I find crazy, all this stuff's unfolding. Robert Grant, here we again about Robert. You know, he just found all this stuff in the pyramid. There's never been any inscriptions in any of the pyramids. Well, in the king's chamber, he has recently said that he has found these four faces of the angels that Ezekiel described in the king's chamber. On each wall, there's
Yeah, I've seen these images of that.
uh,
I think you have to let your imagination go a bit to see those.
right.
But it is interesting though. Chris is talking about Robert Grant,
Yeah.
and Robert's a very smart guy.
There he is.
All right, he's a very smart guy, and he sees things that you and I don't. And
Right.
and his brain works a different way. And he's able to put that together. I looked at those images. You squint a little bit. Yeah, you can see it, I guess.
With a
But
bull,
how was it missed for so many thousands of years?
I don't know. That technology he uses can find it, but that bull that he showed me with his Oculus glasses was like no missing that at all. It was huge.
Right. Yeah,
It had
yeah. I saw it.
inside of it was just like when the lady came to me. She came at me as a bull, and I wrote about this, and I've said it all these years since 2012. One of the biggest things that impacted me was the force of the wind, and then seeing these stars inside this thing when it went over, and then to see it on the pyramid in the king's chamber, it was like shocking. It was just, I saw it was just amazing to see it.
Now, but isn't it our fundamental right to know about ET and contact?
Yeah.
Why? It's just nature, man.
Well, that's the thing I like about Jim Zimmy Band. That's one thing he always told me. He said, "Tell your story, Chris. Nobody owns this. Everybody owns this. No company, no country, no government owns this. So don't be afraid. You tell your story." And that's Jim and the CIA, right? This is the kind of the way they've approached me. It's never been any other way. But Yeah.
Is the government, in your opinion, is the government afraid of maybe losing control, the control that they enjoy, if this starts to if this continues on the path that it is, that it won't any longer be in their control?
I'll tell you what I think, and based on 18 years of studying this, learning from the very beginning when I first started studying with NASA on this, something I learned right away was that they know that people that start experiencing the UFO all of a sudden becomes very psychic. That's why everybody in the UFO world does remote viewing now. You notice they're all doing it. It's because they actually do become psychic. Well, it's hard to fool somebody that's got psychic abilities more than it is the average person, right? So you get the whole country starting to become very psychic, then yeah, maybe they lose control. Maybe that's the reason.
Um, with these hearings that are about to kick off, if some of these whistleblowers like Matthew Brown and others, maybe even David Grush, I would like another round of questions with him. And it looks like with Eric Burleson, that's going to happen. Oh, by the way, did you see the announcement? Eric Burleson got David Grush's security clearance back.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, look out. Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, which means access, skiff, and other things too are right around the corner. But with this next round, let's talk about crash retrievals for a second. What do you know about? What have you been told? You don't have to name names, but are we in possession of alien spacecraft that we are reverse engineering?
I've been told that all these years, yeah. But, I've been told that just like everybody else. But behind the scenes with some pretty amazing people, they all maintain that same thing. And I've been tested with some of the metal from it, actual hull parts. So not just slag, but, materials. So if it's coming from where they say it's coming from, and it did have an effect on me, I write about that in the book. Yeah, they undoubtedly have something.
Do you think that Congress and the Senate are going to be able to take that a step further and maybe bring in somebody like the CEO of Skunk Works?
I don't honestly think they're never going to get anywhere with this because it's classified. And all they're doing, Jimmy, as a whole, they're making the public more aware it's real by saying we have it, we got it, we have it. And for the next 10 years, they'll keep saying that, but you'll never see it because it's classified. And they can't declassify it. Nobody can. It'd take a major act of the whole Air Force and everything attached to it to drop the classification. They won't tell the president what they got. I don't think the government will ever give us what we want. I don't think they can. I think it'll be me and you that actually ends up playing a bigger part in it. If I share it publicly, that's what I've been doing is sharing it. Publicly with over close to 500 people this month. I've had with me outside under the stars that witnessed and recorded stuff with me this month, 500, and that spreads like wildfire.
I'm watching the comments in the chat. Everybody's listening to the crickets.
Yeah, you can hear them outside. Right?
Yeah, man. They're either very big or there's a lot of them, or maybe both. Maybe it's both.
I'm in
North Carolina crickets.
Shop. Yeah, I'm in my shop. If I stepped out, it would be very deafening.
Man, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What do you? Okay, the James Webb And our ability, it's not just the James Webb is one component of a lot of things right now, but it seems that, well, it doesn't seem, a lot of NASA's projects and the ESA that are being launched right now are all looking for alien life, right?
Yeah.
That is the big thing right now in cosmology and science. Do you think that they are going to bounce into something that is going to be crazy and make that announcement to the world about ET and contact? And if that happens that way, and I think it's a big possibility of that, that takes the pressure off of the government. They don't have to admit to it, that science announces it first, and so the pressure's off.
It might go that way. In fact, I hear rumors that there might be something out there they're looking at.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. What have you heard?
Well, I've heard that there's something coming our direction that'll be here by late 2026, early 2027. That they're suspicious that it's not a rock.
It's not a rock. Yeah. And what an interesting way for it to go down. That is out of the government's control.
I've heard that. Now, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard it.
You have you heard it from somebody pretty serious?
Yeah. Yep.
Expand, Chris. I'm not going to let you off that easy.
Say
You know
his
I'm not.
Can't say a name. I signed something to say I wouldn't say this name. So
Okay, don't say it. Oh, it's a he.
yeah, that's a he.
It's a he. Chris, I'm good, aren't I?
Yeah. You twisted my arm bad, Jim.
Yeah, man. A scientist?
Yeah, scientist.
Scientist, so not military. So they are tracking a craft that is headed towards our star system.
I heard they had suspicion. They're tracking something that they had suspicion that it wasn't necessarily an. But I don't know this to be true. You hear so much running around, just like you do. You've heard the same thing. I just can't say who said it, but who said it is a pretty serious person, right?
Arthur C. Clarke.
And,
I've talked about this so much, but Arthur C. Clarke in his Rama series of books talked about this exact same thing. And Arthur C. Clarke had a very strange prophetic way of writing, right? It was science fiction, Chris, and all of that shit happened. You know what I mean? It was like really weird, man. And in the Rama series of books, we start tracking a craft that is going to eventually come into Earth's orbit. And because they are and it took a few years, right? They started tracking, but they knew when, and that's why the book is called Rendezvous with Rama, right? And
the word
they called it.
The word I heard, Armada.
Really? Armada.
That's the word I heard, Armada.
Which is more than one ship. Right.
That's the word.
Wow.
I don't know if it's true, but that's the word.
Are you comfortable with that? And is this, if it does happen this way, a nuts and bolts craft, is it connected to the orbs and the other interdimensional consciousness aspect of the phenomena that we are experiencing?
Yeah, it's very connected to it. And in fact, I want to say something for everybody to pay attention to. In my book, I write about some things in the future. I don't like to be called a prophet, and I'm not. I just repeated what the lady told me, or I just wrote it down and repeated it. But she told me that when you see Israel and Iran and Syria at war or exchanging weapons, at that point they're going to rise up and awaken the people. They're going to come out in force and show themselves. That's what she told me. And stop it all. Well, I put that in writing, and I told some very high up people, this is what I was told, right? And so during November, December, Iran was firing missiles at Israel, and orbs and drones were everywhere, right? You remember all the orbs and drones. And all of a sudden, that kind of quit. Why? Because the fighting stopped. So what the government found out about that was they were very close to what's called catastrophic disclosure, meaning if they keep pushing the buttons, something might come down here and stop it all and say, you know, we're in charge now. So that's something everybody should pay attention to. Where'd all the drones and orbs go? Suddenly.
Do you remember? I don't know if you read it, but maybe you saw it. There's a 3-part movie. Again, Arthur C. Clarke, where he writes in Childhood's End. Again, man, it makes you wonder if that's how it would go down, right? So, two things that were very interesting about how we approached that book. E.T. looked like a demon. Okay. Had hooves, right? Wings, red, yellow eye. It was great, right? Big, huge demon. Just what we would like a gargoyle. You know what I mean? Like a demon. And that was one aspect that was very interesting. And he didn't want to show himself to the world because people would freak out and demonize him. All right. But what does he do? He tells the earth that they are going to fix disease, fix our food issues, fix all of our problems, and we wouldn't have to work. All right. Now, what does that do? He becomes our friend.
Right.
And ultimately, what did they want? Our kids. Yeah. Yeah. And the planet, by the way. But we earthlings acquiesced. We tapped out. You know what I mean? Because we're lazy. Right? We like the fact that we were going to just be taken care of. And that was an interesting approach to the book, which goes back to like what Tom DeLonge has said, or even Stephen Hawking. Be careful. All right, be careful. Don't know. We don't know what is out there. And we're making contact with something that we don't fully understand.
Yeah, that's what the church preaches. They preach fear. Yeah, everything you can't see is the devil. Don't go there. We'll help you. Come to us and we'll help you, you know, get through all that. But it's time.
Well, but you bring up a great point.
Right.
The lady told you things that were pretty frightening.
Yeah.
Pretty frightening. Like Fatima.
Right.
So frightening that stuff stayed under lock and key, didn't it? The Vatican took that and said, nope, we're keeping this to ourselves.
Yeah, but I didn't. I told it, and it's happening. Everybody's seeing it. You can read where I wrote it and where I told it many years ago and see what happened past Christmas. That was a big test, and they got a big fright over that thing. All those drones coming out, let me tell you, it got some attention real quick, and the whole thing simmered down on both sides very fast. If they start jacking it back up like that, you're going to see these orbs start coming back out again in full force. And the harder they push it, the more they're going to come. It's just like the Foo Fighters in World War II.
Right. And it's getting hot right now with India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
Over Kashmir, right? A very sacred place for many people. Do you think if that continues, we'll see the orbs come back?
I think it's pretty crazy because one of the songs that the lady gave me, I helped inspire Grant Cameron to write a book about music. There's a message in the music. And one of the songs she gave me was the song Kashmir. And that stuck with me forever. What does that mean? Why are you telling me about Kashmir? And the songs, Led Zeppelin song, Kashmir, one of 5 that, so it has some sort of meaning there. And they say there's rumor that Jesus was in Kashmir, that he went through there. And they have a Bible. I think it's the Indians have a Christian Bible saying he was there from that area. So I don't know. There's a lot going on now.
Hey, Chris, was Jesus an alien?
Well, some people say that or think that. But I don't like that word because alien doesn't mean to me anything of a divine source or of a spiritual source. Alien would mean ET with a ray gun coming from the Galactic Federation, with Valiant Thor and all these characters. We're talking about something that comes in a spiritual way, that helps heal people, that cares for us, that come because you had a near-death experience and it said your time is not over yet. You got to come back. These are the orbs. These are the same orbs that are talking to people who die.
But doesn't that feel extraterrestrial too, as well?
Not to me, it don't.
It feels that way to me when I hear you say it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm okay with either way.
Yeah, either way is fine. I'm not selling religion by no means. I'm just saying there's something there that hears your thoughts and that will bless you if you ask it to, and does others when I ask it to at times. Not every day, but a lot of people write me saying I had cancer I don't have anymore when they come here. So, what does it all mean? I don't know, Jimmy. I wished I knew. I'm definitely not selling religion, but I for 18 years, I can tell you, 18 years ago, they laughed me out of MUFON. When I told them they were angels 18 years ago, they told me this is just too much to talk about. And so everywhere in the UFO world I went, I got the snicker. There's the Jesus guy. Look,
right.
ray guns. And I'm like, no, I didn't see that. It was spiritual to me. And 18 years now, look, 18 years later, everybody has now changed their whole story to something spiritual. All of them. And
you know what you should do? No, you know what you and I should do? Our next time on stage, we can do this at Contact in the Desert.
Let's do it.
Okay, walk up on stage and come up to me and just pop me in the head and just say, "You are healed." Just do it right there and just let that video
we might make
spread on the internet. Yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun. But if we look back, Chris, serious face. Let's put a serious face on for a second. If you look at some of the events in the Bible, almost most of them, they are technology based. I don't think they're spiritually based. I mean, look, think you got teleportation. You've got genetic stuff that's going on. You've got beams of light breaking up the clouds and guiding people through the desert and light. That's technical stuff. That's not parting of the Red Sea. That's ET technical stuff, particle beams, and it feels technology based. It feels like ET.
Well, my next book will talk about all that. And one thing that I learned early on, many, many years ago, studying with Dr. Pasalka, Diana, everybody listening to this, find you a Bible and go in there or go to your cell phone and pull up a Bible Hub or Bible Gateway and punch in the word cloud. So what she told me was when they translated the Bible from Greek into English, King James, she said I was one of 5 people to witness the original translation, and there were 2 translations for the word cloud. So where the Bible talks about this puffy white cloud coming over and giving them shade, and then it rains later in the day, that's a weather phenomenon. But when it starts talking about clouds that are on fire and that are talking and that are feeding them manna in the morning and giving them shade by the day and fire at night and parting the Red Sea, and when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, it said a luminous cloud came over.
Dude, that painting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got Jesus and John the Baptist at the River Jordan, right? Yep. You know the painting I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's a cloud.
What is in the sky? What is in the sky? That's not a cloud.
That's
a flying saucer, man.
Exactly what it is. This is what Diana told me, that the church changed that to seem like a weather phenomenon, but that would be an angelic being or a representative. It says, and it spoke. That cloud appeared over them, luminous cloud, glowing, and spoke and said, "This is my son, who I'm well pleased." So now you got talking clouds, you got glowing clouds, you got clouds that feed them food.
Laser beams coming out of the,
So what are we dealing with, Jimmy? I don't know. But I called on God and a UFO came. And I still call on God and they still come. So what it all means, I don't know. But I do know there's a lot more out there than just that. I'm sure there's got to be a variety of things we can't imagine going on. And like, from trolls to gnomes to little people to Bigfoot that walks around invisible around us, is so much that we can't imagine. And this comes from NASA. Tim Taylor told me, he said there are layers of stuff, but the angels are real.
Don't forget about leprechauns and fairies.
Right, all that stuff is real.
Yeah.
It is.
Can we talk about abductions?
Yeah.
Have we ever, wait a minute, let me ask, have we ever talked about abductions?
No.
I don't think we have we? And we've talked about a lot, man. We've talked about a lot over the years. The abduction phenomenon, if we go back to, some things aren't an abduction, it's more of a contact experience, like George Van Tassel at Giant Rock.
Right.
And that was 1950. You have the contactees of the 1950s, and you've got Betty and Barney Hill in 61. You have situations like Travis Walton in the 70s in Snowflake, Arizona. Whitley Strieber is certainly right there too as well. Betty Andreessen, right? The Andreessen affair, another Pascagoula, right? These are abduction experiences. Are they still happening? And if they are, is it happening the same way? What happened with the abduction experience?
Well, who knows? A lot of people seem to think they're being taken, but as far as the open, the well-known ones, just don't seem to be all that. Like you just talked about a span of 50 years and very few people in that span, and everybody knows them. But I imagine there are hundreds of people that are being taken into sleep or visited. I think they come down and tune you up like working on an automobile. We're just machines in a program, basically. If you start looking at fractals down to the smallest level into the molecules on our DNA, there are little tiny machines walking up and down your DNA strand doing things that I didn't tell them to do, nor did you. They're doing it on their own accord. They know what to do. So something told them what their position was, what their responsibility is, how to do it, and how to do it perfectly. And our whole body's made of that. Something made it. And I think we're just spiritual beings in a machine that is going to return back in an orb one day. Basically, a ball of containment vessel.
What is yeah, I often wonder about the abduction thing. It seems
I don't.
I think that it's still happening. I think that the technique, the way that it's done, the operation, if you will, has changed according to our technology. I think that we have radar, we have the ability to track, and we have sensors and everything else that bringing a large metallic craft down and abducting somebody is harder to do today than it was just 75 years ago when radar was brand new, right?
Right.
So now the interdimensional aspect of getting here is something that is harder to detect. And that would make a lot of sense. So then the abduction experience is still happening, but it's not happening the same way as in the past. And that's my take. I don't know, but the phenomenon is real, but it has adapted.
Well, I think the whole UFO world is adapting to the truth of this thing now. Basically, the UFO world is not what it was. It has had to shift into the knowledge we have of it now. This thing is the most elusive thing on Earth. It can hide from you and never show itself. And recently, it's decided to start doing that, and we're starting to study it more and understand it some more. But as far as abductions, that's a rare thing. It's more rare than we might think.
What do colors mean?
I
You
get asked.
said earlier, yeah, I know. And so I need those answers for myself, and I think about this a lot, and so many different opinions out there. I've seen a variety of things, but I don't necessarily know what they mean. So let's start with orange. You've sent me some videos with orange orbs. What's orange mean to
Well,
you?
let me say I addressed this tonight with scientists, right? And let's just say one of those scientists. Let's just say one of those scientists is one of the head scientists on the International Space Station, right? These are some of the people. So they asked me that same question: what do the colors mean? And this is what I told them. I was filming one while we were talking in the forest next to me, in which when I go in tonight, I'm going to download these videos and send them to these scientists, and I'll send you a copy. And they were asking me the color of it, and it was only 20 or 30 feet from me, 15 feet up in the trees, and it was red and blue. So it cycled from red with a white in it, shifting to blue, red, white, blue, this orb. And it's very close. And it seems that when they're that close, they'll be that color, or they'll be red with yellow in it. But when they're at idle, this is what I've noticed, when they're idling, sitting still, usually they're red. That's why the one in the woods was red shifting to blue, because it started moving through the forest, and when it shifted, it was stuck behind a tree, and I would not see it. So I filmed it 3 times doing that. But when it's sitting still, it's red. When it's moving along at a a slow pace, it's orange. So it's not idling, it's moving. But when it's energized, it's highly energized, it'll be bright white. It gets so bright white it looks like it's big as a house in the sky. It just, that's how it energizes. But it goes through all those colors. I film them all the time, turning red and blue. But this scientist asked me tonight that about these colors and about the blue. I hear the blue ones are bad. I'm like, the lady comes, she's in the blue, the bluish white orb every time when I see her. So no, I've never had anything negative around me. None of this stuff. It's always all colors, from white to red to blue to green. We have green ones in my house, big as a softball, hovering over my chair, and just pop. And my wife tell you, if you ask her, she witnessed it from 10 feet away. But I've rambled enough, but I don't think the colors has mattered to me anyhow. I haven't seen any difference other than they shift through all those colors.
Are the orbs, I'm not being dumb here. I'm not being dumb, but I'm going to play dumb. I want you to talk to me like I'm 5 years old for a second. Help me out. Okay. Are the orbs the craft, or are the orbs both the spirit or the entity and the craft at the same time?
The orbs, from what I've noticed, Jimmy, are magical beings that can be one or more inside of one of these orbs.
Oh, okay.
They come out of them, and the orb will stay with that being at that point. When they come out, and I have video of the being.
Okay, so the orbs are the vessel then.
They're the being themselves. But what they can do, and we witnessed this over December when they sent these drones up to muddy the water. Everybody was saying, "Oh my God, we don't know if they're our drones or China drone poppycock." They know whose they were. They were ours, and everybody was believing they were all drones. Well, no, they weren't. They were, but suddenly we saw orbs mimicking drones. They just tried to shoot them down. They couldn't shoot them down. They kept trying. We saw video of them trying to shoot them down. And all of a sudden, the orb would just start doing this and pop out an extension of a wing, and then another one, and then fly away looking like a drone. And I've seen them do it to airplanes. I've seen them do it to helicopters. We know from history, through research, that in the 1600s, 1700s, there were flying houses, 2-story houses glowing. There were flying sailboats, like the Mayflower, where the sails glowing, flying along in the sky. What's his name? Kenneth Arnold says, I saw these shiny little crescent things. They look like bat wings. But when he said it looked like a saucer skipping on the water, the news, they come out and said, oh, he saw flying saucers. Can you believe this crazy guy? Well, what happens? The next 40 years, everybody sees flying saucers until somebody said, I saw a triangle. Then for the next 8 or 10 years, everybody sees triangles. Well, then their true nature came in 2006 or 7. I reported these balls of light and I called them orbs. And then what happened? Next year in 08, Stephenville, Texas, there were orbs there. And then these craft come out of the orbs. So who knows what we're dealing with? But they can sure mimic anything, from a boat to a plane to something a mile across, like in Phoenix. We're dealing with something that is conscience based and can make itself look like it wants to. Anything from a bug, a mantis, to a being of light, to whatever. It has that ability.
I was with Steve Murillo, and Steve. Steve's great, and we were with a group of people. I've never told you this. I've told the story many times, but you and I have never talked about it. And we were up at Mount Adams. We were 14 miles away from Mount Adams, 2017, 2018. I was up there with a group of people, a bunch of fadernauts, right? We were having a Fade to Black conference. So we had a bunch of people up there. Anyway, a few hundred. And but we were out, it was about 3:00 in the afternoon. And I've got a pair of binoculars on this tripod on this picnic table. I'm looking at birds, just enjoying the afternoon. Beautiful, crystal clear blue sky, beautiful, beautiful. And as I'm looking at these birds with this ginormous pair of binoculars, they're like this long, and out from behind the mountain, Chris, this huge Mount Adams is 14 miles away, and this object, this craft, came out from behind the peak of the mountain, comes across, and it was huge, and it was like a tall cylinder, I've called it a beer can, probably 400 feet tall, a couple of 100 feet wide, and it's let me switch cameras. It's spinning like this, and it's going across the sky, and it's black with little chrome rim on the bottom and top, huge. And I just was like, what? And it surprised me, when you least expect it, right? When you least expect it. But this was the crazy part. I thought, Chris, that we were going to watch this because it was moving so slow and it was so big. And there was like 30 of us out there, that we were going to see this for an hour, moving across the sky that slow. And the whole sighting lasted about 15 seconds.
Right. Nobody
else. Yeah. Right? And then, what's that?
Did anybody else see it other than you?
Everybody saw it.
Good.
Everybody saw it. And so anyway, as I go back onto the binoculars, this is back to your point. Steve, who's sitting next to me, says, it disappeared, man. It phased out. I was like, what?
Yep.
And I look back, and it's gone. It's gone. And it was sitting in the middle of the blue sky, moving across, by itself. This giant, it was huge.
Yep.
When I say 400 feet tall, what I was looking at was 14 miles away. In the binoculars, it was like this big. I could see everything. And I just looked at it and remembered it. I scanned it from top to bottom. It's perfectly in focus, the sun shining on it. And I really got a good look at it. And then, like I said, Steve goes, it phased out. And I looked, and it was gone. Gone.
It wanted you to see it. It wanted all of it.
Yeah.
That's consciousness. That's how it's this is something greater than just a visitor from another world. This is something that come up from there because it knew you were there. It knew you were looking through them glasses, and it knew you were going to yell it out. Hey, look.
100%. I am convinced of that today, even though what you just said sounds like crazy talk, right? True. But I'm looking in these binoculars at the peak of this mountain.
Yeah.
What? And it just pops out of the mountain like that from behind the mountain. That was intentional.
Yeah, it was. It did it, and it knew it before it came out. It knew it was going to show itself to you. Because you're part of the team. You're part of the disclosure team. And that's what this is about. These things are part of I think that you ask about these abductees. I think that they've done that because there's some writing in the book of Enoch about this where they prophesize that in the future, before this final awakening, that there'll be people here to help help everybody understand it. And that may be exactly what's happening with all this, that consciousness, the universe, is awakening us. In fact, I heard this crazy conspiracy this week. You know, you hear all kind of stuff. I heard this at
Yeah.
the Wisconsin. They were talking about chemtrails. Why are they spraying the sky? And everybody sees it up there. Why they're doing it? And this was coming from a guy that's a PhD, right? He was saying that they believe that who knows, that the universe, the sun is sending out signals that are awakening the public faster, and that they're trying to stop that. But I don't know if that's true. I think it's more about climate change. They're trying to change the climate. But it's funny, you hear all this kind of stuff, to
What did I tell you this weekend? You can't jump in the deep end of the pool.
right.
Yeah. You can't do it. I when it comes to conspiracies,
Right.
I love them. I love them. I'd like to read about them. I'll do the rabbit hole thing. I'll go back and confirm, or see if I can get some factual stuff on that. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the research. I like looking into it. What the problem is when you find out that something is real.
Yeah.
Right. That's the crazy part.
I think we all everybody in the UFO world looks into all this conspiratorial stuff, and there's a lot of it out there that, and it makes you, when they hide stuff, that makes you want to look and seek. As far as the sun sending a signal, I don't know that's true, but
I still think that there is something to stars being portals and energy points. I'm kind of okay with that.
I'll tell you a little research I studied that came out of NASA. I've got several papers that I have my hands on. One of them was about the sun. At the angle it shines on the Earth, it casts a green spectrum of light, which is the center of the color spectrum, which is the borealis and all that, right? The green trees, and which, if you understand it, it's like blue with the absence of yellow, which the trees show that yellow in the fall when it all dies back. But yeah, I forgot where I was.
Okay. Yeah, you were going with the sun beaming information to us.
Oh yeah, there you go. The green light. They say that the way the green light shines on the Earth at a certain spectrum, and this is in this paper, that the hemoglobin in a person and the chlorophyll in a plant is the same basic chemical called ADT, which, when the sun shines on it, it starts that energy creating life process. So all information to all living things, like those little things in our body that are walking down your DNA strand carrying a load, and it stops to let something by. It's the sun telling it that. It's the sun that's encoding all life's information into every living thing. So how far is that away from is being God, right? It's giving out all that information to
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's not far away from it. It's the same thing. Chris, I mean, it's such I talked about this on stage. You were there. You were sitting in front of me. I will make that argument to any materialist physicist or scientist or biologist or the anthropologist that insist on all of this just being coincidence and luck. That's you're a religious man, but I'm just going to say this right now. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And there is no way the odds of DNA being a chemical accident is the odds. How many zeros do you need to put on that number to make that luck? No, there's something else intelligent behind that. I don't know what it is. I don't, but it's not luck.
No, it's not. And if you want to delve into that, one of the smartest guys in the world is a professor at Rice University. His name is Dr. James Tour, and when I say he's one of the smartest, he is, because he's rated in the top 40 smartest people on the planet. He has like 600 or 700 papers and hundreds of published patents, and the guy's a genius, but he's a organic chemist. And he says that, and he's challenged this question about the evolutionists, right? They're saying everything come from a mud puddle, and he's like, there's no earthly way that those chemicals can combine outside of some perfect environment. He says the more we learn, the less we know. That it's not possible that something had to have created it all, wrote the program. And so we need to get past that. Is it real or not? We need to find out what's behind that door. Let's quit debating, is the door there? Let's go behind that door. And that's where we are right now with disclosure. We're fixing to push past, is the door there?
So thank you. Another great conversation tonight, Chris. Thank you for taking the time, you and the crickets.
Yeah.
Give my best to Yvonne and the family. Are you bringing out the crew in a couple of weeks to contact?
Yes. In fact, anybody wants to come, Chris Jr.'s coming, and he's never been to one of these things. The only one that's not coming is our second oldest boy, Jeremy. He's a scientist, so he couldn't get off. But Chris Jr. will be there, Ryan and Jenny and Emily and myself and Yvonne. So come join us, and I'll look forward to that. You and I hang out on the stage.
Man, you remember, you are hailed.
Yeah.
It's just right there, right in my, just
You're going to get out of California if I do that.
Yeah. I'll drop. I'll do the whole thing. I'll do the whole thing. Chris, I love you, man. You know that, and you and the family. Let's continue everything where we left off up there in Wisconsin. It was just a tremendous weekend, and we just get to just turn right around and do it again right here in my hometown of Los Angeles and Palm Springs. It's going to be great, everybody. Contact in the desert. The links are below. UFO of God. The links are below for that too as well. If you haven't got the book already, get it. Bring it with you, and I'll get Chris to sign it for you out there in Palm Springs. All right.
Right.
Chris, my best. Okay. Thank you so much, my friend. I'll talk to you.
Love you, Jimmy.
Chris, I love you back, Chris. You know that. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Safe travels out here. All right.
Thank you, brother.
I'll talk to you. Chris Bledsoe, everybody. I am your host, Jimmy Church. That was perfect. Chris is the best. And yes, he's going to be right here in Palm Springs, California at Contact in the Desert in a couple of weeks at the end of the month, and heading into end of May into June. I think May 29th through June 2nd. June 3rd, right here. And the links for Contact in the Desert are below. With that, I am going to get out of here. I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, we're extending Fade to Black this week. We are going to do a show tomorrow night on Friday with Haley Ramsey. And tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about her research into ancient Egypt and their influence on the United Kingdom, all of it, and the rest of the world. We're going to be doing that tomorrow night. But until then, all I've got is Go Back Lee Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.